Hey, this is the Well Advice Channel 2. What I want to talk about today is a topic of the truth about Trump's attack on Iran. So for this video, I will discuss what this attack on Iran shows about Trump, in a non-biased way, even as a left-wing person, to be quite blunt and honest with you, okay? So you can get a good idea of who Trump really is when it comes to him as a politician, okay? So now that I mentioned that, let's get started. So when it comes to what this situation proves about Trump, without, of course, any personal biases being attached to it, it shows that he's not going to live up to his promises. Because the truth about Trump, as I'm certain we're all aware, he has paraded himself as an anti-establishment person. Not just an anti-establishment person, he has paraded himself as someone who's going to change America. He's going to make America like how good it used to be from, let's just say, the 1950s, all the way down to the 2000s, okay? That's the person Trump is trying to parade himself to be. He's going to make America be as good as it used to be, okay? Now, even though, of course, America had a lot of injustices and stuff, specifically when it came to race back then, the truth of the matter is, when it comes to that particular topic, to be quite blunt and honest with you, the situation of it, we're not talking about, like, obviously the racial injustices and stuff like that, because of course that did happen and was wrong. We're talking about like how good America was, in terms of living standards, okay? Like how affordable food and stuff, and how accessible everything was, yada yada yada, without, of course, all of the inflation issues and all that stuff. That's what we're talking about here, okay? When it comes to America being as good as it used to be a long time ago, when you didn't even have to pay much for a house, let alone even pay anything to go into college or university, okay? That's what we're talking about here, and that's what Trump has paraded himself to be, okay? Someone who's going to turn America back to how it was a long time ago without all the bullshit, that is going on nowadays, okay? That is the honest truth. And America, honestly, without any personal biases, obviously being a black person, and knowing they didn't treat people who look like me back then very well, of course, to be quite blunt and honest with you, was overall better, from the 1950s all the way to the 2000s, especially from the 1950s all the way to the 1990s, okay? It was better. And the truth of the matter is, when it comes to, of course, making America great, like how it used to be back then, the truth is Trump absolutely has not lived up to his promises. He said he was going to do all these things, specifically, of course, the main one that's on everybody's mind, which is the extreme cost of living that is absolutely killing people and making people's lives unbearable. The fact that literally when you go to a restaurant just to get a simple meal, that I remember not even that long ago, you can get like a McChicken burger with large fries and a large Coke for only $10. And this is coming from a Canadian, for crying out loud. So it shows you how much better it must have been in America, because the price of living was so much better back then. And we're talking about like 2019, 2018 sort of thing, like the affordable cost of like a fast food meal, to let alone everything in life for that matter. It was so much better and so much easier back then, okay? The cost of living, from food to going to the movies to doing all sorts of things, was extremely cheap compared to now, in all honesty, to be quite blunt and honest with you. It was a lot better and stuff from the 1950s to the 2000s. Life was just overall a lot better, okay? And specifically when it came to the price of living, and most importantly, the price of food, which Trump said he was going to improve. And guess what he hasn't done? He hasn't improved on it. He hasn't improved on it at all. He said he was going to do this, he was going to do that. He hasn't done it. He hasn't done it at all. The price of living, from I know in America, is still high. There's other issues America still has. Like, obviously, a lot of crime is still going on, a lot of other issues, but most importantly of all, of course, inflation. The price of living is extremely high. And history shows that whenever the price of living is extremely high, it can cause a recession, and recessions are not something anyone wants to experience, if you know about the Great Depression. And the thing is, Trump said he was going to do that. What has he done? Just started a war with Iran. Like, why is he even there? Like, in all honesty, okay? To answer your question, to be quite blunt and honest with you, okay, about Iran and a lot of those places, to answer your question, The truth of the matter is the reason why he is there is because he just wants to make a profit. He's just showing that he's another part of the military industrial complex, and he's no different from his predecessors, Obama, George W. Bush, you know, maybe a little bit of Bill Clinton, but Bill Clinton was pretty decent overall. But aside from Bill Clinton, if of course skipping him, you have George H.W. Bush and all those people before him who were just warmongers and just started shit for no real reason, okay? He's no different from any of those people. He's just a troublemaker. He's exactly a part of the system that he said he was going to do, because American industries make a hell of a lot of money on these wars, okay? And the thing that he's going to start a war that is actually something against a nation that actually has a pretty decent military, when America could barely fight against a nation that had untrained militiamen who don't even know how to shoot, like the Taliban in Iraq and Afghanistan, just shows you who he really is. He's not going to save America, to answer your question. And that's the point of this video. He's not going to save America, okay? Because if America invaded, if you thought the casualties in Iraq and Afghanistan, specifically if the Iranian regime puts up a fight, in all honesty, you thought Iraq and Afghanistan was bad. This is going to be nothing compared to that. This is absolutely minimum going to be a new Vietnam. So in other words, tens of thousands of Americans are going to lose their lives. Absolute minimum, okay? Because Iran has a pretty good military and it's a pretty huge population, okay? For that matter, okay, to be quite honest with you, and to invade them, especially knowing how huge a distance is and how the setup of Iran is, a nation that's very mountainous and has a pretty decent military to top it off as well, is definitely gonna cost a lot of people's lives and could potentially start World War III, okay? So the truth of the matter is, this just shows you who Trump really is, okay? Because what the hell does this have to do with America? The homelessness crisis, the massive amount of Americans who don't have jobs, and especially most importantly of all, the high cost of living, specifically the high cost of food. What the hell does this have to do with this situation? Why isn't he brought down the cost of living? The cost of living is so damn high. Why hasn't it gone down? And that's exactly what he said he was going to do. And he always says he's going to do something absolutely. He always says he's going to do it, and he hasn't done it, which shows who he really is, and he's not going to live up to his promises, okay? And that's the truth about Trump. He's not going to fix the problem. He's a part of the problem, which is a system we live in. And if you thought he was going to change things, you've definitely been duped, okay? He's not going to change things. Inflation is still high, and this war is just going to make the cost of living even higher, for that matter, because it's going to create the markets a panic, and as a result, people are not going to be trading as much, especially when they think a possible world war is going to happen, obviously, since Russia is an ally of Iran as well as China, and they both have nuclear weapons. So, well, what do you think was going to happen if you go to war with Iran? So it can obviously start a World War III, even though their militaries are probably ass, they still have nuclear weapons, so it can cause a lot of lives, potentially. We don't know if it's going to happen, just because Trump, is not able to actually resolve the problems of America. Some people say it's the Epstein files he's trying to hide away from. It could be in part, but a lot of it also has to do with the fact that he just is not able to solve the inflation issue and the other issues of America, and most importantly, of course, the inflation issue. So he's using this as a distraction to keep people distracted from the situation, okay? And that's the honest truth, okay? So now that I've mentioned what it shows about Trump, what is the main message of this video? Well, the main message of this video, to be honest with you, is that whenever in life, okay, and I'm not trying to be one of those corny ass dysfunctional, stupid people who say in life all the time for everything, and they're saying this stuff because they want to kind of they want to try to manipulate you to see the world a certain way. I'm not trying to be that, in honesty. I'm just speaking honest truth here. In life, whenever it comes to politics, okay, specifically politicians and they try to say that they're going to be a savior and they're going to save things from you and they're going to make things perfect, especially like Trump pretty much paraded himself to be, and of course before Obama pretty much paraded himself to be. Just remember that's not going to happen, okay? The modern world doesn't work that way. Paul, specifically relating to politics, doesn't work that way. The political field is run by corporations that don't want anything to change. And that is the honest truth of the matter, to be quite blunt and honest with you, okay? So the truth is, whenever people say they're going to do something, they're not going to do it, okay? All you're at this point when it comes to politics is picking a lesser of two evils, which the better of the two evils now is a left-wing party, you know? And a truly good politician is just going to nowadays focus on stability instead of focusing on making the world a magical place, you know, which is not going to happen in a modern world. So that is the honest truth. So whenever you hear a politician, if there's a moral to the story, saying that he's going to make everything great and amazing, just remember it's not going to happen, because the truth of the matter is that's just not how the world works. And that's a lesson for this video, and that's all to say, and so we put them out. So bye.